Evaluate the expression for the given value. So we're replacing the x value with the number. -7 times -7 times 4 is -28. And then -28 minus 2 is -30. For this next one, we're replacing the x value with 3. Five times 3 is 15. 15 plus 3 is 18. And 18 over 2 is 9. In this one, we are solving for x. So we'll separate the left side of our equation and the right side of our equation. When we see parentheses, that's an indication to do the distributive property. So a fourth times 2x, you can rewrite as 2/4 x. 1/4 times 6 is 6/4. We still have this -5 here, and it all equals 9. Now we can combine like terms. 6/4 is the same as 3/2, or 1.5. So if I had 1.5 and I took 5 away, or reduced it by 5, that would give me -3.5. 2/4 can be rewritten as 1/2. Now we move the number pieces together. -3.5 plus 3.5 makes 0. 9 plus 3 is 12, so 12.5. And then we can divide both sides by 1/2. When you divide by a fraction, you can use the same flip and multiply strategy. So we're left with x over here because those divide out. 12.5 times 2. Well, 12 times 2 would be 24. 1/2 times 2 would be 1, so this would make 25. Consider this equation, solve for y, and then check your solution. Again, you can distribute that too. So we have 2y minus 12 equals 22. This is a variable, this is a number, and this is a number. We want to move our pieces with its like terms. So in order to get rid of the 12 over here, we have to add. -12 and 12 make 0. The 2y is still on the left. 22 and 12 make 34. And we divide both sides by 2. And that gives us y equals, well, 30 split into 2 would be 15. And 4 split into 2 would be 2. So that's going to give us 17. Then it says check your solution. So just like we did in the opening exercises, we can replace the y with the number and check to make sure it comes out to 22. 17 minus 6 is 11, and 2 times 11 is 22. So our solution is correct. Here we are to match each sentence to its equation, then solve. A. The sum of half of a number and 6 is 22. Well, half of a number would be represented by a half of the variable, or the variable split into two parts. The sum means addition, so we are adding the 6. The is means equals. So here's a variable split into two parts, added to 6, and equals 22. So this is equation 3. Twice the sum of a number and 6. When it says twice the sum, that means it needs to include parentheses around the sum. You are doing twice the sum, not just twice one of its pieces. So we would have the number, which would be a variable, and 6 added together is 22. And it looks like equation 1. You see the sum of the number and 6. Twice the sum is 22. Six more than twice a number. So that means adding 6 to twice the variable. That would be equation 4. 6 more than twice the number. And the sum of the square of a number, so that's where that exponent's going to come in, and 6. So adding the number squared and 6 is 22. That is equation 2. So to solve these, we will distribute. This is 2w plus 12 equals 22. Subtract 12 from both sides. We're left with 2w equals, that's a subtraction, 10. Divide both sides by 2. W equals 5. Then we need to check. Five plus 6 is 11. 2 times 11 is 22. Here, subtract 6. 22 minus 6 would be 16. To undo a square, you use a square root. So W equals, this one, a square root can have two solutions. The square root of 16 is 4. It could be positive or negative 4. So we did 4 squared plus 6. That would be 16. Plus 6 is 22. And if we did negative 4 squared, a negative 4 times a negative 4 also equals positive 16. So both of those solutions work. Here again, we start by subtracting 6 from both sides. 22 minus 6 is 16. To undo division, you can multiply both sides by 2. And that would give us W equals 32. 32 split into two parts. That would be 16. 16 plus 6 is equal to 22. Subtract 6. To undo multiplication, we divide by 2, and that gives us W equals 8. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 plus 6 equals 22. For the expressions shown, find a category in which three of the expressions belong, but the fourth does not. We saw in this last problem that they all came out with one solution, except for this W squared. It came out with two possible answers. So here, the ones that are grouped together would be these three. But this one Does not. And the reason is because this one is considered non-linear. It has a variable on the exponent that is something besides a 1 or a 0. And these three are all linear. The variable on the x is that invisible 1. And the variable on this term, there could be an x with an invisible 0. Because remember, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So that eliminates the variable piece. Use the linear expressions in problem 4 to create 3 linear equations. So we're going to form equations out of these, so we can write something like these two are equal to each other. So there's one using 2 of the parts. We could also use the 2x minus 5 and the 4x. Or we could set 2x minus 5 equal to 6x plus 1 plus x. Basically, we're just combining two chunks to create equations. But we don't want to include x squared plus 3 because that one is not a linear piece. So here we are going to circle the linear equations. So this one, the w has an invisible 1. Here the x has an invisible 1. This one has a cube. That is not a 1 or a 0, so it is not linear. This one has an exponent of 2. It is not linear. All of these have exponents of 1, so they are linear. Same thing here. This one, it has a 1, and it's on the top. These ones all have 1s, and they are on the top. If they were on the bottom, like so, that would be rewritten as 4 to the and x to the negative 1. When it's in the denominator, those exponents are negative. So if it was in the denominator, it would not be linear. This one is linear. This one is linear. That one has a cube, so it is not linear. Going back to the equation we had at the very beginning of class, is this linear or nonlinear? Well, the x has just an exponent of 1, so this one is linear. And we found that x came out to 25 in that original problem. So it had one solution, which means it is linear as well. Make sure your work is finished in your workbook and your warm-up is complete as well.